What's up guys, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. It's been a few days, but when Claudio Ranieri speaks, we listen and we react. That's the number one rule on this channel. When that man, when Sir Claudio speaks, we listen and we take notes. Very important day, very unexpected interview coming out today with a lot of unexpected things. I know that the biggest focus of this interview for a lot of people was the Totti segment and how Claudio said that Totti might be coming back into the club and that the Fredkins are considering this. I ain't gonna lie, that's very interesting and we are gonna react to that, but I think that the most important thing coming from this interview is his standpoint on the situation, because it's been a while since he last spoke. I believe the last time he spoke was around October. So it's been a while. A lot of things are happening. A lot of things have happened. The manager, of course, speaks every week. And in the last couple of games, you can definitely tell that there's an element of frustration in the manager, because I feel like Gasperini really wants to target that Champions League in his first season. So I think it's very interesting to get a standpoint from people responsible of the board if it's an obligation for Roma to get in the Champions League this year. And just speaking about the manager as a whole, giving a feedback of what Gasperini has done up to now, also explaining strategies of this January window and moving forward with the FFP regulation and everything, speaking about contract extensions, focusing on Dybala and Pellegrini's one. So these interviews are a fresh breath, fresh kind of like intake for all Roma fans. And yeah, we're going to react to it. I'll give you my opinion on everything that Claudio has said. I will translate because I believe that Sky Sports doesn't always translate into English. So I will translate to you guys what he got asked and what he said. In the meantime, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I believe we're closing in on 70k subs. If we can hit that, it would be great. So share this video with your friends and families. Hit that like button down below. And let's get into this. First of all, no question, Ranieri starts the interview going, we're not asking to qualify for the Champions League this year, even though everyone wants that. We discussed a 3-year plan with the owners and the manager. The manager asked for 16 players plus the young players, and that's what we have to do in these 3 years in order to build this nucleus. Of course, we're Roma. We want to get things done as quickly as possible. But remember that we're trying to build. We're very happy with how the team is playing and what Gasperini is doing. He's starting off with a very important statement, which I think we tend to forget. And I'll get on to my opinion in a second. Ranieri starts off by saying, we're not asking to qualify for the Champions League in his first season. That doesn't mean that if we get it, it's illegal. Absolutely not. We're Roma. If we can speed things up, it would be amazing. But we sat down this summer, we outlined a 3-year project, and in the first year, the obligation, the target, the goal, the objective is not Champions League football. It's building. So I think coming out from this interview, you've got a very clear picture. A picture of 3 years. Everyone agreed on this. Objective of year 1 is to start the building process. Objective number 2 of year 2 is to qualify for the Champions League. And in the 3rd year, the objective is to win the league. This is the ladder that we were outlined by Ranieri this summer and by Gasperini this summer in the press conference that they both had introducing this project. And it's a ladder that he's repeated today. And it's a very important ladder to take in mind. I said what I think months ago. And I remember this very well. Because it was one of those games, it was one of those periods where we were first in the league table and everyone was hyped, everyone was looking at the league table position. And I said, and if you've been following, you'll remember this, I said, this is not good because we won't win the league title. And if at the end of the season, we won't get the Champions League, we're going to treat this first season as a massive disappointment and as a massive failure. I said this very clearly. I said the problem with all of this hype and with us being first in the table right now is that we won't be first at the table in June. And there's a risk that we won't qualify for the Champions League. And if that's the case, if we don't qualify for the Champions League at the end of the season, we will go, this is a failure because we were first. And that was the hazard of being first in the table out of nowhere. Answering the question, do I think we're going to get Champions League this year? Via the league, we're not. I think via the league, you're not going to get Champions League football. Inter and Milan have gone. Juventus is slowly booking that ticket. And Napoli, yes, are full of injuries, but whenever you get back in Europe, they have one game per week and they're going to get the injured players back. So, no, my answer is I don't think we're going to get Champions League football via the league. You can win the Europa League. Do I think you're going to win the Europa League? No. So my answer here is I don't think we're going to get Champions League football next summer. Is this a failure? It looks like a failure because we've been missing out on the Champions League for almost a decade. So I don't want to hear anything about failure, not failure, project, no project. I won the Champions League and that's all I want. And I agree with you. Look, we've been waiting a lot. But this is the ladder that you need to remember. This is the ladder that was promised to us. And this is the ladder that is very important to keep in mind. You know, yes, in your opinion, in your personal opinion, not getting Champions League football at the end of the season can be a failure. And part of me agrees. Look, absolutely. But you need to remember that the objective of season 1 was not Champions League qualification. That's the objective of season 2. And then winning the league title, challenging for the league title will be the objective in year 3. And you need to remember this. And Ranieri repeated this again today because I think it's important to take this. It's important to analyze this season and intake this season using this image of a 3-year project that everyone agreed on. Now, I think you look at this and go, well, then why is the manager so frustrated? Because I think the manager fell in the same trap as we did. I think the manager fell in the same trap as all of us did. Because, you know, this manager was first in the league table. He knows that this team is not the best, but he can work with it. So he's like, I know that if we sort a few things out, I can challenge for the Champions League. So I think this is also for Gasperini going, I understand your willingness and I absolutely love it because I think it's great that you're working ahead. But remember that we don't expect you to get the Champions League at the end of this season. So it's like, you can hammer as much as you want. We will try our best to satisfy your demands, but remember that we sat down and said that the Champions League qualification wasn't the objective of this season. And I think he was first, in this team full of passion with a big fan base. Your hype goes up, so you're like, I want to speed things up. I want to get Champions League football immediately. And I honestly think Gasperini fell in our same trap because he was first, because the team was responding well, because the team has responded in general very well to him this season. So it's like, we can do it. We can do it quicker. So, but I need that extra backing, if you get my point. Okay, moving on. I don't want to stick on this too much. Are the tensions between Massara and Gasperini positive energy, or could they undermine the atmosphere? In our environment, I don't think so. They're two very different characters. Gasperini hammers everyone. That's his biggest strength. If God came here as sporting director, he would do the same. He's the kind of coach who wakes up in the morning and pushes you, comes in, punches you. I want this, I want that. Massara is a very thoughtful person. He takes it well and tries to do his job. We mustn't forget that. He is in the club as well. He listens to the coach and senses what the club can do. And I'm in the middle between the two. Having said this, I think this summer Massara will go. I think this summer Gasperini will push for Massara to leave. Ranieri won't go out there and say, yes, Massara and Gasperini don't like each other. Absolutely. He won't. He's under contract from the Fredkins, so he won't say these things. But I don't think Gasperini and Massara get along well. I think the two of them... Now, okay, context. I think Gasperini is a classic manager that is very hard to accept sporting directors. He's had problems with sporting directors everywhere he went. And, you know, people that we lose a game and film videos or TikToks or whatever they want going, Gasperini is threatening to resign because Massara doesn't back him. You don't know who Gasperini is. Gasperini has had problems with sporting directors everywhere. Gasperini has sacked about 10 different sporting directors in his 10 years at Atalanta. That's an exaggeration, but he definitely sacked at least 3. He's a manager, which Ranieri described to you, who hammers a lot, who expects a lot, pushes a lot, and pushes to want more. So it is a very complicated manager to work with. So I don't think it's easy to find a sporting director that will, you know, step by step work with Gasperini. But I think you need somebody who moves closer to Gasperini's personality, because I think Massara and Gasperini are the two most opposite things that humanity has created. Because one pushes like hell and the other one is as slow as hell. And this will inevitably never work out. So you need somebody who can, of course, can't back him fully, because we will never be able to back him fully. But somebody who keeps his rhythm and somebody who will tolerate his rhythm. So I think at the end of the season, Gasperini will push for Massara to leave. I think it's very clear. I don't care. I think, honestly, there are other problems than changing sporting director. Then he speaks about contracts, and this is important because the journalist said, what should be done with Dybala and Pellegrini's contracts, who are the two players who earn the most? And, you know, one of them is very injury prone, as we know, and the other one is extremely inconsistent. I tend to agree with what Ranieri says here. For the club's survival, we need to lower the wage bill. Otherwise, we can't afford this FFP. That's all. Based on what they've done on the pitch and what the coach tells us and his requests, we will decide. Otherwise, we will say goodbye. The answer here is very clear. I think Pellegrini needs to go. Basta. Pellegrini needs to go. So I think extending Pellegrini's contract, and we have this constant discussion on the fan forum which divides a lot, with people who go extend his contract and people who go don't extend his contract. With Pellegrini, I'm on the don't extend the contract. Pellegrini needs to go. I love him. I've loved him. I will forever love him. But he needs to go because he offers nothing apart from a classic penalty once in a while or a goal in the derby. He does absolutely nothing, and he is extremely inconsistent. So I think with Pellegrini, you don't need to even consider this. Let the contract run away, and then he will leave as a free agent. With Dybala, I think it's different, because with Dybala, I think Gasperini will push to have him one more season, because he understands that Dybala is the best player when fit in this team. So I think Gasperini will go extend Dybala's contract, not for more than one season, absolutely, but I think he will push him to have him for at least another season. The Ranieri has made it very clear with this answer. I think it all depends on their ability and their possibility of accepting a wage decrease. If both of them say, yes, we're ready to half our wage in order to stay, then I can see both of them staying. Even though I think Pellegrini needs to leave, I think if both of them go to the club and go, you know, we will massively decrease our wages because we want to stay, I think the club will extend them. Otherwise, they will go. It's very clear. It's very, very clear. Then he speaks about the Fredkins, and the question is, how involved are the Fredkins in general? And Ranieri says, the new stadium project clearly shows how involved they are. They hired a manager for 3 years. The brief was, we want to get to the Champions League, stay there, and then the year will come that we win or challenge for the Scudetto, or the year we fight to get into the Champions League or the Europa League. That's their modus operandi. You can't tell a coach, we need to get the Champions League, because we're building and growing. I'm not talking about the league table, but about the number of players the coach wants as a unit. Our goal is to bring them in as soon as possible. I would have wanted them yesterday as a former coach, but not everything can be done instantly. We are united in this, the club, me, Giampiero, when he speaks, he doesn't say a single word out of place. We're all in the agreement, we're all in together. When the Fredkins tell me what I think, I say I agree with Giampiero Gasperini. He's truly a man of great vision, but we need time to get to his vision. This last sentence, I love it. I love it. This is the sentence of the interview. He's truly a man of great vision, but we need time to get to his vision. The future of this club is Giampiero Gasperini. The project will be a 3-year project. At the end of the 3 years, they will look and examine, and the possibility will be to extend. Absolutely. The project is very clear. The requests of the manager are very clear. The personality of the manager is very clear. He's a manager of great vision. I've said this many times because I truly believe this. But it takes time, and we need time to get to his vision. Remember, he said this again in the interview, that I said it before Gasperini became manager, that our next transfer sessions were going to be very restricted. So, honestly, concluding and giving my opinion here is that whenever Ranieri speaks, I always feel a bit more calm, because I know that a person like Ranieri works behind the scenes. If a person like Ranieri wouldn't be working behind the scenes, I would be very worried, because Ranieri is, I always define Ranieri as a lighthouse. Like, when Ranieri speaks, you know where we're heading. Sometimes if Ranieri isn't there, I'm like, where are we going? I mean, it feels like we're in this infinite loop of 3-year projects, extending contracts and everything. When Ranieri speaks, I then all of a sudden find my way back into this forest and find the path out of it. I know and see, even after this interview, where this club wants to go. I think the objectives are very clear. Of course, if you can speed the tempistics and the timings of these objectives, it would be everyone's dream. But you need to remember that the objectives were outlined. Year 1 is build the base. Year 2 is Champions League. And year 3 is league title. Then if I look back at this, I go, we're in the correct position. We're heading in the right position and the right direction. If that is effectively what everyone has agreed to, then we're in a good shape, because for half of the season up to now, and we're still 2 points behind Juventus, who are 4th, we've been in Champions League positions and we're still challenging for it. So it means that we're already in an advanced position. Like, we're already working our way through that year 2 project, technically. So I think it's very important to understand this and yeah, just understand and get back in the direction that we know. And then last but not least, have you ever thought about Totti's return to the club? They are thinking about it, and I hope that Francesco can be truly useful to Roma, because he's part of Roma. Well, regarding this, I don't have much to add. I mean, I'm very happy. You know, I said this when we appointed Ranieri. Whenever Juric was sacked, I was like, bring Ranieri in. Because this environment, this identity needs one thing in order to fuel. In order to walk. In order to drive this car, the most effective fuel is to fill it up with Romanism. And this is a concept that a lot of people might go, well, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It's not truly the solution as to why we improve. Adding figures that have represented this club, that have represented and bleed Romanism, will never be harmful to this football club. Because this environment bases itself on these figures. Okay? Look at all the hype that was around and all of that passion that was around when De Rossi was appointed manager. Look at the reaction that the team and the fan base had post De Rossi and Juric period when a figure like Ranieri was put in. So filling this club, whether it's inside the football pitch, whether it's on the touchline, or whether it's inside the offices with people who have represented this club in the past, know what this club is about, know the environment at this football club, have worked in this environment, know the pressure, okay, know how this pressure can lead to instability. It will never be harmful. So adding these figures is always good. Now, if you ask me what role Totti should have, whatever they want, with one premise, and it's a very important premise. He shouldn't be used as another shield. And that's very, very important. Because after what happened with De Rossi, the big danger here is this, that you're calling him, and just like you've called Ranieri, to shield yourself so that whenever the next problems come by, they're the problem, they're responsible. So the premise here needs to be exactly this. We bring him back for everyone, for the team, for the club, for the environment, for our health, everyone. You know, who doesn't want Totti inside? But the number one rule needs to be that you're not bringing him back to shield yourself, but you actually intend to use him under a purposeful role, okay? Whether that role will be a scouting department, whether that role will be working close to the sporting director. It's something that Totti will have to accept. Remember, Totti worked with us. Not with us. Totti worked in the board and then left in 2019 because he had disagreements with Pallotta. You need to bring him back for him to do something which will make us thrive. This shouldn't be a marketing operation. I bring Totti back to sell my brand even more. No, this needs to be something that will be beneficial to the core and the nucleus of this team. That's my take on it. Okay, let me read a few comments. What do you think if Paolo keeps his form, should renew and cut his wages? I agree with what Ranieri said. I only agree with Ranieri. I don't see us getting Champions League in either way, Europe or Europa League. Serie A is out of the question. Europa League, too many strong teams ahead of us. Porto, Lyon, Villa. Terrible transfer session with Massara. I don't understand how, especially after the run Ranieri did this season's goal, it was in fourth place. I think it's because you've started a completely different project. You've started a project which, if you look at it, is very different. Like, I know that the team from last year and this year, for a lot of people, is similar. Like, it's the same team. If last season's team had that run, then we knew that it could get in the Champions League. But I think with the signings that you completed this summer, you've entered a new project. Like, we've signed a lot of young players. You know, El Anawi, for instance, just the transition from Paredes to El Anawi is a transition. It's a futuristic transition. You know, El Anawi is almost 10 years younger than Paredes, if not maybe even more. So you can't expect, if you sign El Anawi, who is, I'll tell you how old he is. I'll tell you, I think he's like 22, 20. Elanau is 24. Sorry, 24. Which, again, okay, it's not the youngest, but it's still young. Elanau is 24. Wesley is 21. Robinho Vaz is 18. Venturino is 18. Like, Gilardi is 20. Something like that. You've signed a lot of young players. So the majority of the players you signed are young players. So I mean, I agree. It doesn't make sense, but at the same time it does, because you've signed and you've opted for a completely different strategy this year. So yeah, I think that's the reason why. That's the main reason why. For me, letting Pellegrini go is like divorcing the love of your life. I love him like he was my baby, but for Roma, he needs to go. I think Roma is on the right back in terms of a project and identity. Gasperini just needs to figure out how to get you guys scoring. He's already done well on the defense. Okay, I'm going to catch you. Tomorrow is Friday. Oh, we're playing on a Monday again. Oh my God, I hate Monday night football. But I'll catch you soon with the match preview. Today was fun. Unexpected news. Totti's return and Ranieri's exclusive interview. Yeah, hit the like button. If we can get, 110 for Totti likes would be amazing. As I said at the beginning, we're closing in on 70k subs. We're like 20 subscribers away. So hit that subscribe button, share this video with your friends and families, and I'll catch you soon. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. See you.